Howdy folks, my name is Eric, and today we are going to be working on this issue over here on Gitt. This is gitt.eom.dev, and we are following up on the pull request that I had been working on over the past few days. That is this one, the PowerEdge R720 QEMU and Kubernetes setup. In this pull request, I was basically working on taking a PowerEdge server, deploying 5 virtual machines, and adding those virtual machines to my existing Kubernetes cluster. We accomplished that with this pull request, but if we look at the problem that I was actually experiencing that led me to do this, we can get a hint as to why it wasn't working, or as why it didn't solve the problem. So Nextcloud is crashing. That is the main thing that I am seeing, and actually I'm seeing several services in my Kubernetes cluster crashing and restarting repeatedly. In the past couple of days, one service has restarted over 1,000 times. So this is happening quite a lot and causing service disruption. And the issue or the error that Nextcloud is producing is this SIGWitch here. I did a little bit of research, and I think it's coming from Apache, and Apache uses SIGWitch in a unique way, non-standard way. And this is also a relatively uncommon error to be thrown. At least I haven't seen it before. If we go a little bit deeper, I don't think that's actually the issue at hand. What I am seeing is that Redis, which is a service on which Nextcloud depends. Nextcloud is kind of a, you can think of it as a replacement for Google Drive or Google Cloud, calendars, stuff like that. Or what's the other one? iCloud. iCloud's a better example because it's a little bit more self-contained. Self-hosted, iCloud. And Redis is a cache. I don't know the specifics of how Nextcloud is using Redis, but basically you'll use a cache to save information temporarily that you are going to retrieve over and over again so that it is easily accessible. Point being, the error that I'm seeing here is this fsync is taking too long and the disk is busy. And in my existing Kubernetes cluster, all of my services, including Redis, are using persistent volume claims from a NFS client, Network File System Client. And that NFS client is saving things onto a disk that exists on a PowerEdge T640 server, and it's just one disk. All of these services, including their dependencies, are writing to the one disk. So I think that is actually what's causing Redis to crash, which is downstream causing Nextcloud to crash. And that explains why adding more compute power to this Kubernetes cluster through that previous PR did not solve that problem. And so today what we are going to do is tell these underlying Redis instances to create new persistent volume claims that utilize a new network file system client that is a disk that exists on the R720 server. If we go to the actual PR here and we look at the Ansible playbook that was created as part of this and scroll to the very bottom of the playbook, right down here, we can see that a NFS provisioner was deployed to the cluster. That's this R720 NFS client. So basically what I am going to be doing here today is configuring my Nextcloud deployment to use that R720 NFS client. So this is actually not a particularly difficult thing to do. There is actually a nuance here though. There's a problem that I need to fix in the future that I should take note of, and that is that I am currently working in a repository called Ansible role EOM. When I first created my Kubernetes cluster and started deploying services to it, I put all of the service configurations into one repository. Each one was just a single task file in that repository. As I have continued to develop the network, though, I have found that putting each service in its own repository allows me to create issues and pull requests that are unique to that service itself, and I think that makes a little bit more sense. Point being, in the future, I'm going to want to take this Nextcloud deployment out of this particular repository and move it to another one. That's not what we're doing today, though. For today, we will be working in that Ansible role EOM, and I'm going to open that project. The screen that you are seeing here is actually to my left, mounted on the wall, and I am looking at it through OBS here, which can be a little bit hard to navigate, so I might just turn over to the side sometimes. Things a little bit more quickly. Agree that that's better. Okay, so what we need to understand about the deployment of this Ansible role EOM, is that it's a role, not a playbook. So in Ansible, your playbooks are the things that are executed. You're going to tell Ansible that I want you to execute this particular playbook, and the playbook will call roles, which contain groups of tasks to be done. So this Ansible role EOM contains specific tasks to be executed, but this role needs to be included in another repository that contains playbooks in order to be useful. So the actual repository that we are going to be executing our playbook from is going to be software infrastructure, and Ansible role EOM exists as a submodule in this repository. If you're not familiar with submodules, it's a concept in Git where you store Git repositories inside of Git repositories. So we can see here that this, where is it? Ansible role, oh, it's just ericomean.eom. This actually links to the Ansible role EOM repository, which is where we're going to be doing this issue. So this repository is contained within this repository. And so what I am going to do is first edit the Ansible role EOM repository to contain the tasks that we want to execute, and then I'm going to go into the software infrastructure repository and execute the playbook. Now, a little bit more nuance is that I have, let me actually navigate to my desktop so you can see. If I just list what's in my desktop, I see that Vusing Mahara has joined the chat. Hello, Vusing. Welcome. And let's see. So listing my desktop, we can see that I have both the Ansible role EOM repository checked out here, and I also have software infrastructure slightly hidden behind my big head right here. And I opened the folder for Ansible role EOM, and that was kind of a mistake. Should have opened just software infrastructure. Reason is that I can go into the roles folder here, .eom, tasks. There we go. And I'll scroll a little bit so y'all can see. Okay. So, like I said, Ansible role EOM is a submodule of the software infrastructure repository. I have the software infrastructure repository checked out locally on my system, and I have initialized the submodules. That is to say, I have checked out the code for them. So when you first clone the software infrastructure repository, it will not contain the code for the submodules. You need to run a different command to download that code. Git submodule init, git submodule update remote. Doesn't matter. Point being that I can edit the file directly here in the submodule, and I can, by editing the version that is contained within the software infrastructure repository, I am going to save myself some trouble in this deployment process, where if I edited the independent Ansible role EOM repository, I would need to commit the code, push that up to git, and then pull it down into the software infrastructure, run the code. If it didn't work, I would need to make another commit over here, push that up, pull it down, and test it again. Whereas by editing the submodule directly, I can make all the changes that I need to make, test them all out. Once it's done and I know that it's working, I'll just push that one commit up to Ansible role EOM from within this software infrastructure repository. It'll make sense when I do it. But this is the task file, the Ansible task file that deploys Nextcloud on my network. And as we can see here, I am using Helm. Helm is like a package manager for Kubernetes that will contain all of the resources that are needed to deploy a particular service to Kubernetes, and it will give you an easy interface for modifying those services. So we can see here, I have in this section called values, I have a bunch of different configuration options that configure this to my needs. And what I need to do here is find Redis, and I need to find where I am going to tell it where its persistent volume claims should be coming from. So to do that, I actually need to get the URL for this Helm chart. Interesting, it's their own repository. That's kind of nice. And let's go check it out. And let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to search for Redis here, see if I can get some documentation. So they're using this Helm chart contains another Helm chart in the same way that I am using submodules for Git. This Helm chart contains subcharts, and those subcharts are deploying the dependencies of the main service. And here's where Redis is. So we can actually go to the Bitnami documentation for Redis to see where we will tell it to use a certain persistent volume claim. I didn't mean to scroll there. So when you are working with persistent volume claims in Kubernetes, there are a couple of different ways to do it. The first way is to manually create a persistent volume claim and then tell your service to use that specific persistent volume claim. If, however, you are using something, a provisioner, which is what I have for this NFS, I have that NFS provisioner deployed, I can actually just deploy the service and say, use a persistent volume claim from the provisioner, and I don't need to create it manually. And that's what I'm doing here. So I don't need to create the persistent volume claim. I just need to tell it to use that specific client. And there it is. Global default storage class. I don't know if I want the global one. That's the only option, but storage class. Master persistence storage class, replica persistence storage class, Sentinel. I do want all of them to be the same, so I will do global.default storage class for my update here. And the one that I want to use is the one that we deployed yesterday, that R720 NFS client, which I don't think is the best name for this, but that's the result of having deployed one called just NFS client to the T640, so not the best naming convention there, but what can you do? Okay, now a few things I need to do in order to actually use this. I need to edit the main file of this Ansible role. So in this main file, as you can see over here on the left, it's pretty small, so you can't really see it, but you could tell there are a lot of files here, and those are a lot of individual task files. And I have one that's the main one, and this is the only one that's actually called by the Ansible role when you execute it. And this main one, you can just list the files that you want to execute, and it will execute them in a loop. So I can just deploy one service at a time. It was a way for me to have a little more finesse when I was doing this. It worked, but putting things in their own Ansible roles is a better way of achieving what I was trying to do here. The point of me opening this is to make sure that this is actually saying to run the nextcloud.yaml file, And then I want to go into the test.yaml of my Ansible role, or my software infrastructure, which is what says I want you to run the Ansible role POM. Okay, so I am going to say Ansible playbook execute this file, which calls ericomian.eom. That's going to run this main.yaml, which has our loop, and I have specified I want it to use this nextcloud.yaml file and our nextcloud.yaml file. The only thing we have changed, which is a mistake, a big mistake, we don't want to do that for Nextcloud. We want to do that for Redis. That was potentially bad. Just Redis. Okay, so now the result of this, if we go over to our Kubernetes cluster, Alpha control plane. So this is the problem I am trying to address. We can see our Redis master and replicas here. They have existed for less than 5 days, and they have started anywhere between 250 and 650 times. So that's the problem that I'm trying to solve here. So when I execute this, I'm not entirely sure what will happen. So let's see. This repo already exists, so it shouldn't actually update Helm. I might want to do that myself. It's probably a good idea to update Helm before I execute this. So what's happening here is, as part of this task file, I've created, it's 3 steps. The first one is that we add the Helm repository that we want to deploy. That's this one here. The second step is to update all of our Helm repos, but this only executes if this one is added for the first time. So maybe I do want to update anyway. I think I do. So how do I want to do that? Manually, or do I want to run Helm update commands? I don't remember the Helm update command. Oh, it's written right there. I'm just going to exit. Yeah, you can see the problem happening right now in real time. See them restarting down there? That's what's happening. It's happening all the time, and it's really annoying. So hopefully we're going to address that here today, but I'm going to update our Helm repos. Let's just do that manually. Okay, that was easy. And let's go back to this, because I don't want to type my cd command because I'm a little bit lazy. Before I execute this, let me just pull up another window actually. I want to wait for Nextcloud to restart everything. So let's wait for those to actually work and not cause a problem here. Yeah, so during this time, while these are restarting, I can show you that Nextcloud should be returning 503, service temporarily unavailable. So yeah, it's happening lots and lots of times every single day, and during that time I get service unavailable. And Nextcloud is hosting, my calendar and things like that. So it's just really annoying to be happening all the time. And it's also happening on Mastodon. So if we, let's take a look at the Mastodon namespace. This one actually isn't quite so bad. I implemented some mitigations here. This one has restarted 123 times, and this one has restarted 33 times. Now, the mitigation that I implemented here was to deploy those pods onto a node, which is the virtual machine that has been added to the Kubernetes cluster. I deployed those pods to a node that is actually dedicated for GPU use cases. Now, those are not GPU nodes. It's just that I only have one pod that actually requires a GPU. And so that node has a lot of capacity. And so I moved those guys over to that node so that I could clear up some space in the cluster. Now that I have added the additional virtual machines from the R720, that's no longer necessary. So at a separate date, at a separate time, I'm going to undo that specification. And it's interesting how you tell Kubernetes to keep one of those nodes off to the side for a specific purpose, and then tell the service that, hey, you're that purpose, so use that node. I'll show you how to do that in the future. But let's take a look at Nextcloud. Let that last one start up. It's also, I don't think it's really necessary to have 3 Redis clusters for this service. That's a bit unnecessary, but another thing I want to point out is that I am, unlike in the previous few videos where I was doing a pull request, as we can see in our tab here, not quite. So this is a pull request, and yes, so what am I trying to say here? In those previous videos, I was on GitT, I was working in a pull request, versus today, I am working on an issue, and I am not going to open a pull request for this. I am expecting this to be a simple one-line change that I will deploy with one command and will not really need to do much more editing or testing to actually, get working. It's just, you just change that, and that's all you need. So I'm not going to make a pull request for this. It's going to be a small change. And it's related to an issue. So all I'm going to do is make a commit that says, hey, this closes that issue, and I'll just push that directly to the main branch of the repository. It's not usually the best practice, especially if you're working with a team of people. You really don't want to do that, but it's just me over here, so not a big deal. And it, like I said, is a very small change. So I suppose this isn't a terrible time to start the playbook. Oh, this is even better. So, playbook is executing. It should just kind of sit here for a minute, and oh no, that's no good. Okay, doesn't like that. Okay, well, it's saying I can't do this. So apparently Redis is deployed as a stateful set. What if I don't care about... Okay, well, this is potentially a bad idea. I could try to delete the stateful set from the Kubernetes cluster, Redis or Nextcloud will certainly not like that. While Redis is not available, I expect I'll have a 503. When I run this again, it should put it back, and I manually delete the stateful set. Let's look at it. What if I delete them and then run the playbook again? Will this completely destroy Nextcloud? Redis is just the cache. I don't really care about the cache. But you know, it's not a great idea to do things like this. You should let Ansible handle everything. Why is it saying Postgres isn't ready? See, it's crashed again. Plus, it looks like Nextcloud actually updated in the background and is trying to initialize itself again, which is not a great time for databases and stuff to be crashing. These videos always go really well. I'm going to just wait for a moment and see what these guys do. Hopefully Postgres will start up. Yeah, I think if I manually delete the stateful sets and redeploy them, I think Ansible should fix everything. I think it'll all come back. Let's just see it put Postgres back up and running. Let's get Nextcloud running again, and we will do that. At least it's fast. So if I were to delete there's another stateful set for Postgres here. I feel like deleting that would cause a lot more problems than deleting Redis, because Postgres contains the persistent database and Redis is just a cache. I have a feeling that I can delete the Redis stack and Nextcloud will just give me that 503 service unavailable until I deploy it again. And once I deploy it again, it should be fine. Nextcloud should reconnect to it and everything should be good. Oh, come on, Postgres. Why are you crashing? Okay, well, that's another problem. Apparently, the Postgres version 16, which is what was used for the original deployment of this Nextcloud instance, has been replaced with Postgres 17.5, which is not compatible. So, okay. New issues. And Nextcloud is undoubtedly not going to be available at this time. Oh boy, this has become quite a problem. So, let me see. I'm just going to Google that error exactly. Peru. I could tell it to use version 16. These are kind of stupid workarounds. We made versions. Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to try and just pin the version of Postgres. I want to see what the default value is here. Image.tag. Okay. Can I do... We can find an actual one. 1605, 12R20. That's just a guess. Docker.io. Let's see. Is that correct? Do they not have any version 16? Okay, we're gonna have to go back some. Can I just search for it? And actually what I can do to be a little bit smarter about this is look at the git blame for this and see what it was updated from. Doesn't help. How do I see the previous version of this other than I want to go back even further. I think I just need to okay, well, I can see that the only one they have here is this R0. So double check the error. Just version 16, so I don't know that I need version 16.5. Does it only go up to 16.6? Do we get 16.7? No? I don't know which version to use. And this is a bit hacky. I don't think I should be using a specific version. I feel like ideally I would do what they said and export the database and then deploy a new one, and then I don't know. That doesn't sound ideal. I don't know how you're supposed to update this. I'll have to create a new issue and follow up on it. For now, I'm just going to pin this version. So this is, I guess, a workaround, and I'll create an issue on their actual repository to find out what they would recommend I do. Surely someone else has had this issue. I think this will fail again because we still told it to, yeah, do Redis. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. I might need to undo that. I think I do need to undo that. Yeah. So let's take that out of the Redis section. We'll put it back later. This has gone off the rails, which I think every single stream I've done has. Okay. I expect this one to work. There we go. So let's just let this do what it does. Why is it doing just Redis though? This um okay, there are some problems here. I want to describe the pod here, and that just prints out some information about this Postgres instance. I want to make sure that that version that I pinned took effect. Yeah, there it is, 16.6. Okay, so this should not crash. Hey, look at that. Okay. Love to see it. There's some music playing outside. I don't know what's going on down there. It's a Friday, so I expect the city will be lively tonight. Okay, so yeah, once this Nextcloud instance gets back up and running, I will probably just, open up the web page just to make sure that it is in fact still working. But then we're back to deleting that stateful set. Now that we have fixed the database, let's destroy it again. So, I think I'm going to go for it. Something about the camera makes me feel old, which is probably a bad idea. Just wait for 2 out of 2 on that last instance. I'll take the moment here to remind you that you're welcome to like and subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are on Mastodon, ActivityPub, or the Fediverse in any version, then I am as well. And I try to focus more on that. So feel free to follow me over there as well. Should be sufficient links around for you to find it. Please. It's taking its time. This isn't the most uncommon thing to have to wait, so. wonder if we can get some logs here. Okay. No wonder it's taking its time. Yeah, why don't we create some issues while we're waiting here? Well, let's actually search their repository. So this is the Nextcloud Helm chart repository that I'm using, and I want to see if anyone else has. No. Hmm. Well, I might create an issue over here to ask them about it, but I should probably look a bit more thoroughly to see if it's a duplicate. Okay, that looks like that is... It's restarted. Well, that actually looks good. It looks like it's about ready. I think we're just waiting for it to confirm that it's ready. And do I want to delete that stateful set? I really think I do. It's a bold move. They're saying that if we think back to earlier in the stream, the error that I was getting said that the upgrade was invalid. It was not, it couldn't be done because I'm not able to upgrade the PVC storage class of the stateful set. Maybe I could just set it manually. I don't know. I think I should just delete it and... I'm gonna wait for Nextcloud to start all the way up though. In about 8 days, the new version of Debian is coming out, and I'm hoping that we'll have an upgraded version of OBS that will include the browser source for my videos, and that will allow me to put the chat over the video, so I won't have to read everything out every time someone says something in the chat. I can also see that in the chat, Market News at mastodon.social and tech@tagpush.app have shared the stream. And they have shared the past few streams that I have done, which I appreciate. And I believe these are automated accounts that are sharing things that are using a particular hashtag. Great for me. I appreciate that. Sounds like they're having like a real hullabaloo out there. Getting kind of loud. Come on, Nextcloud. Start. Be ready. I do want to, let's give it a little bit more time. Let's see. Yeah, so this command, this get pods with the field selector, allows me to say which pods are running on which nodes. And I'm curious to see if anything is running on... Yeah, so some of these Nextcloud instances are going over to the new compute module. Yeah, Redis replica. Cool. Hey, there we go. It's running, finally. Woof. Now I am curious. So, maintenance needed. Uh-oh. I think I just need to turn off maintenance mode. I can do that manually. I am actually thinking that I might not put... I know that the whole premise of this video was to tell these Redis instances to use the new network file system client, and we saw how to do that, but the stateful set does not want to accept that upgrade or that update. So after I deployed the new virtual machines into the cluster, the existing pods, like these Redis instances, did not reorganize themselves. They did not automatically move over to those new virtual machines. Now that I've tried to run this upgrade, though, they have done that. Those pods are now running on the new virtual machines. And I'm very curious to see if they restart like they were. I'm not going to count that one down there on replica number 2, just because it's, it was all just starting up. I don't know what's going on there. But I might just want to leave this for a little bit, and let's see if that fixes the problem. Maybe I don't need to use this R720 NFS client for this just yet. So I'm going to comment out these 2 lines. And this is the problem with not working in a pull request. So I think ooh. Let's see. Okay, first thing to see is this head detached. That's not anything particularly interesting. It's just what happens when you load a submodule. All I need to do is do git checkout main here behind origin main. Okay. Yeah, so pulled some update, doesn't matter, whatever. So since I have not yet confirmed that the issue is solved, I'm going to do this as a pull request. So let's make a pull request out of this. We are on the main branch, so I'm going to git checkout -b. What do we want to call this? Is there a thing to automatically create a branch? I think I saw the other day that there is not. Branches get deleted, so it doesn't really matter what they're called. Let's just call it Nextcloud. That's easy. What am I trying to call this? I don't want to say it closes the issue. You know, I could put the commit message closes X, but not really appropriate for this because we don't know yet that it is closing the issue. These are just some changes. We are going to say all it does actually is pin version 16.6. Okay, created a new branch, added those changes, and new pull request. And I'm going to put this video right here. I'm going to change that comment. But I need to set the status to work in progress. And for the time of this video, I'm going to I'll add some time here. I'll do that at the end. Actually, I could do it now since I can see the timestamp, but I'm not going to. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm going to wait again, which was the plan last time. I want to see if these gentlemen over here, no restarts just yet, so we're gonna have to wait and see. Okay, that will do it for now. Thank you very much for joining me, and we may be picking this back up in the future. I know I'm going to need to pull this Nextcloud deployment out of this Ansible role EOM and put it into its own repository. I can do that on a live stream, and if we need to do further updates, maybe I'll do both at the same time. And yeah, again, if we need to actually put the Redis instances on the R720 at NFS client, then I will do that as well. So cool. That will do it for now, and until then, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Toodaloo.